Have you ever really stopped to think about what's in your glass of wine? I mean, beyond the grape. Have you ever considered that you're not just holding a drink, but, well, liquid history? That every single sip is a direct link to literally thousands of years of human culture, of migration, of incredible innovation. Today, we are uncorking that very story. The story of how this ancient drink helped shape the world.
Just look at this. This is not some modern painting of a dinner party. Nope. This is an ancient Assyrian relief. And that guy right there, that's King Ashurbanipal himself, centuries before the Roman Empire even existed, just casually enjoying a cup of wine. What this tells you is that long before we had written history as we think of it, wine was already right at the center of everything, of ceremony, of power, of celebration.
So just how far back are we talking? Well, to answer that, we have to go way back. I mean, all the way back, to the dawn of agriculture itself, to a time when humans were first starting to settle down and really shape the planet. Okay, get this. The earliest archaeological evidence we have for cultivating grapevines for wine is from 8000 BC, right in the Fertile Crescent. Now think about that for a second. At the exact same time we were figuring out how to domesticate things like wheat and livestock, we were also figuring out how to make wine. It wasn't some afterthought, it was a fundamental part of the whole agricultural revolution. And what's really fascinating is how quickly wine gets woven into our oldest, most important stories. It shows up in the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh. I mean, that's one of the first pieces of literature ever. And in the book of Genesis, what's one of the very first things Noah does after the flood? He plants a vineyard. Its role in these epic tales makes it crystal clear. Wine was never just a beverage. It was a potent symbol of civilization, of rebirth, and of the complexities of being human.
So, an invention this good? No way it was going to stay put in the Fertile Crescent. Like any great idea, it started to travel. It was carried on ships by traders, planted in new lands by colonists, and spread by conquerors. And everywhere it went, it fundamentally changed the culture.
And you can actually track this epic journey. It's incredible. It starts in 8000 BC, and then, boom, 4,000 years later, we find evidence of it in ancient Egypt. Give it another 1,000 years, and it's central to Greek culture. By 2000 BC, Greek colonists are bringing it with them to southern Italy. And 1,000 years after that, Phoenician traders introduce it to the north. You're watching a slow-motion migration that unfolds over millennia.
And this map? This map shows you exactly why this was all possible. See this green band stretching across Europe and Asia? That's the natural habitat of the wild grapevine. It's like you can trace the path of civilization just by following the vine. It was already there, just waiting for people to discover it, cultivate it, and turn it into something amazing.
But here's the thing. These early winemakers, they weren't just throwing grapes in a bucket and hoping for the best. Oh no, they were surprisingly sophisticated. And some of the most compelling proof for this comes from a place you might not expect at all. One of the greatest epic poems ever written.
So that really is the big question, isn't it? Just how much did they actually know? Were they just farmers doing their thing? Or were they true artisans? Well, for a fascinating clue, let's turn to Homer's Odyssey, a text that's nearly 3,000 years old. Okay, so in the story, Odysseus is finally home after being away for 20 years. And to prove to his old father, Laertes, that it's really him, he doesn't just show him a scar. He does something way more specific. He describes in painstaking detail the exact trees and vines his dad gave him when he was a boy. He says 50 rows of vines with grapes of all sorts. Now that is not just a passing memory. That's a winemaker's inventory. Right, so why is that detail, grapes of all sorts, so important? Because what he's describing is a technique we still use today. In Italian, it's called uvaggio. It is the art of planting and blending different types of grapes together to create a single, more complex, more balanced wine. Homer is describing field blending, a really sophisticated winemaking concept 3,000 years ago. That is absolutely mind-blowing. And all of this incredible innovation, it really all comes down to our relationship with one single plant. It all started with this wild vine, Vitis vinifera sylvestris. But over thousands and thousands of years, humans selected the best ones, cultivated them, and transformed them into Vitis vinifera sativa, which is the direct ancestor of pretty much every wine grape we drink today, from Cabernet to Chardonnay.
Now, this process of adaptation and innovation got even more interesting when the vine really made its home on the Italian peninsula, because growers there didn't just stick to one method. Oh no, they developed completely distinct techniques based on the land itself, creating two very different traditions in the north and the south.
So, down in the hot, sunny south, they used a method called albarello, which means little tree.
The vines were kept low and bushy, kind of like a small tree, which was perfect for protecting the grapes from that intense sun. But up in the cooler, wetter north, they came up with something totally different, the Vita maritata, the married vine. They literally trained their grapevines to grow up and through the branches of living trees, lifting them away from the damp ground and up toward the sun.
And you don't just have to imagine what that looked like. We have proof. This is a Roman relief from the 1st century AD. Take a close look. That right there, carved in stone 2,000 years ago, is the married vine technique. You can clearly see the grapevine, heavy with fruit, woven right into the branches of a tree, while the workers are down below harvesting. It's just a perfect snapshot of this ancient agricultural art.
So from the Fertile Crescent to the poetry of Homer, from a wild plant to these meticulously married vines, the history of wine really is the history of us. It's a story about discovery, about artistry, and about a deep, deep connection to the land. So the next time you open a bottle, just pause for a second and remember that 10,000-year journey. What story will you taste in your glass?